Everything which we hold in consciousness for any length of time becomes impressed upon our subconsciousness, and so becomes a pattern which the creative energy will wave into our life and our environment. This is the secret of the wonderful power of prayer. The answer to prayer is therefore subject to law, and this law is definite, exact, and scientific, just as are the laws governing gravitation and electricity. An understanding of this law takes the foundation of Christianity out of the realm of superstition and cruelty and places it upon the firm rock of scientific understanding. But unfortunately, there are comparatively few persons who know how to pray. They understand that there are laws governing electricity, mathematics, and chemistry, but for some inexplicable reason, it never seems to occur to them that there are also spiritual laws, and these laws are also definite, scientific, exact, and they operate with immutable precision. Welcome, guys, to part 21, chapter 21, Charles Honnell, the Master Key System. We are moving quickly toward the end. This is yet another powerful chapter. Today, we are going to add some value to your lives by discussing the secret of power. The secret of power, understanding that power comes through your consciousness, being conscious of your power and how to utilize that in your day-to-day lives. The real secret of power is consciousness of power. The universal mind is unconditional. Therefore, the more conscious we become of our unity with this mind, the less conscious we shall become of conditions and limitations. And as we become emancipated or freed from conditions, we come into a realization of our unconditional. We have become free. As soon as we become conscious of the inexhaustible power in the world within, we begin to draw on this power and apply and develop the greater possibilities which this discernment has realized. Because whatever we become conscious of is invariably manifested in the objective world, in the external world, is brought forth into tangible expression. This is because the infinite mind, which is the source from which all things proceed, is one and indivisible. And each individual, you and I, are channels whereby the eternal energy is being manifested. You've heard me say here on the channel several times before that you and I, we are individual and unique expressions of the universal. We are the way in which the universe is deciding to express itself and to experience itself. And that is quite a different paradigm and perspective if you came up in religiosity. You are much larger than perhaps you've ever been told you were. And that takes you from an ego-based understanding to a much larger, broader, and powerful understanding. So when you're approaching obstacles, or we call them opportunities here in your life, you can approach them from a much broader standpoint, in a much more powerful standpoint. Now, the ability to eliminate imperfect conditions depend upon mental action, and mental action depends upon consciousness of power. Therefore, the more conscious we become of our unity with the source of all power, the greater will be our power to control and master every condition. So in other words, it is very reasonable to think that the more you study for your algebra test, the more prepared you would be to conquer and to subdue your algebra test. The less you study, then the less prepared you are, and the less confidence you have, and the less power you will have. So Honnell is saying here, number one, you must, in order to exert power, you must be conscious of the fact that you have power. Where does the power come from? Well, it is not I, but the Father that dwells in me, which is what the great teacher has said. He understood the source of his power. He understood the connectivity to the power source. And we too have that same connectivity. Now, after you've understood that, how do you move forward in your day-to-day lives from a place of confidence and a place of assertion in terms of power, and understanding that all things are possible? Large ideas have a tendency to eliminate all smaller ideas, so that it is well to hold ideas large enough to counteract and destroy all small or undesirable tendencies. This will remove innumerable petty and annoying obstacles from your path. You also become conscious of a larger world of thought, thereby increasing your mental capacity as well as placing yourself in position to accomplish something of value. This is one of the secrets of success, one of the methods of organizing victory, one of the accomplishments of the mastermind. He thinks big thoughts. The creative energies of mind find no more difficulty in handling large situations than small situations. Mind is just as much present in the infinitely large as it is in the infinitely small. That's a mouthful, and that's powerful. This is one of the secrets of success. Methods of organizing victory, one of the accomplishments of the mastermind. Now, the mastermind is a concept that was brought to us by Napoleon Hill. He certainly was a subject matter expert as it came to spirituality and higher levels of consciousness and things of this nature. And he wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, as well as Outwitting the Devil, both of which I would recommend that you read. In terms of mastermind, the concept was a group-related type of concept from Napoleon, and pretty much the principle was to coordinate an effort of knowledge. So you have very knowledgeable people in a particular industry, and they come together for a certain purpose, what he called a definite purpose, meaning there would be an end to their determination. So if they're meeting for a purpose, a definite purpose that will come to some sort of end, like a project. So for example, if you have subject matter experts in the field of public service, and you come together to develop perhaps a method by which to serve a certain area of people better. So that would be your definite purpose, and you bring your efforts together to do that, and you would be considered a mastermind because you're a subject matter expert in their area. And these folks, one of the defining areas of mastermind is that they're able to do all this and work in harmony. So definite chief purpose, subject matter experts working together in harmony. Second part about this particular paragraph is that he says, this concept, this energy, this creative energy, this power you have, it can handle very large things and it can handle very small things. One of my daily mantras is that I am able to complete the largest or smallest, most difficult task with ease. I repeat that to myself a few times a day. And that's important because sometimes we get assigned tasks that are very large. Sometimes things fall on our plate that are very large, that can seem overwhelming. And then sometimes things are very small, but still a little nitpicky, and they maybe run on a little longer than we want them to. But we have a tendency to put conditions on things. I am able to complete the largest thing. So it doesn't matter how large it is, doesn't matter how urgent it is, doesn't matter how hot it is, or the smallest thing, doesn't matter how minute. I'm going to handle them all with the same type of care because I'm conscious of my power. When we realize these facts concerning mind, we understand how we may bring ourselves any condition by creating the corresponding conditions in our consciousness. First, because everything which is held for any length of time in the consciousness eventually becomes impressed upon the subconscious mind, and thus becomes a pattern which the creative energy will wave into the life and the environment of the individual. So, if you can approach each opportunity with the same attitude, that is, you being conscious of your own power, you are weaving and creating, in essence, its solution at the same time. From this science, we learn that every thought creates an impression on the brain, that these impressions create mental tendencies, and these tendencies create character, ability, and purpose, and that the combined action of character, ability, and purpose determines the experiences with which we shall meet in life. These experiences come to us through the law of attraction. Through the action of this law, we meet in the world without the experiences which correspond to the world within. So the point here is to establish yourself foundly in your world within, and it will express outwardly. And not only that, but more of the same will come through the law of attraction. And this then will be your experience. This will be your life. This is our life. We just have been unaware of how this is happening. So for example, if we're talking about fear, which, today living in pandemic type of world, most people are in fear, then if they do not check those thoughts, then what's going to happen is they're going to continue to live in fear and find more things to be fearful of. The predominant thought or mental attitude is the magnet. Remember how we were talking earlier about predominantly positive and habitual thinking? This is what Hanel is getting back to. The predominant thought or the mental attitude is the magnet, because that's what's going to draw the next thought and the next thought. You're going to build a momentum, and then you're going to start producing. Things are going to start manifesting based on that momentum that you're producing. And the law is that like attracts like. Consequently, the mental attitude will invariably attract such conditions as correspond to its nature. It is, however, no easy matter to change the mental attitude, but by persistent effort, it may be accomplished. The mental attitude is patterned after the mental pictures which have been photographed on the brain. If you do not like these pictures, then destroy the negatives and create new pictures. This is the art of visualization. Well, guys, this is why we go into our secret places each week. This is why we have those exercises. This is why I always promote meditation and visualization, idealization. Because if we are somewhere in our lives where we don't want to be, we don't like where we are, we must, number one, take responsibility for it. We're not going to give our power away and say someone else did it. It's us. Number two, if we don't like those pictures, we can create new ones because we have the power to do so. You're conscious of your power. If you suggest that someone else has created an environment and life is happening to you, you're giving away your power. You're not conscious of your power. Life happens through you and as you. You're an individual and unique expression of the universe, and the universe is expressing itself through you. So it's happening through you. So take responsibility. Only then can you assume your own power. If someone else did it, then they have the power. So we're going to assume our own power. And by doing so, we're going to create new pictures and visualize our new existence. As soon as you have done this, you'll begin to attract new things, and new things will correspond to those new pictures. And to do this, impress on the mind a perfect picture of the desire which you wish to have objectified. In other words, which you wish to have obtained or manifested or achieved, and continue to hold the picture in mind until the results are obtained. This is almost verbatim of what we've been doing each week with our exercises. We go into our silent places and we continue to build on our blueprints of the things that we desire, our whatsoever things, the things that we want to see achieved and accomplished in our lives. And we see it in more and more detail until they manifest. When those manifest, we go back into our quiet place and then we do it over again with something different until it becomes a characteristic of a part of our character, part of our personality. An illustration of how these mind forces operate is suggested by the method in which our habits are formed. We do a thing, then do it again and again and again until it becomes easy and perhaps almost automatic. And the same rule applies in breaking any and all bad habits. We stop doing a thing and then avoid it again and again until we are entirely free of it. And if we do fail now and then, we should by no means lose hope, for the law is absolute and invincible and gives us credit for every effort and every success, even though our efforts and successes are perhaps intermediate. That's really important because if you're like me, sometimes I can get away from a bad habit, and then, weeks later, even months later, I find myself kind of either thinking negative thoughts or develop a negative mind pattern, or, I'm on a phone conversation with someone, and I find myself going into an area of complaining or into an area of negativity. And I have to really remind myself, number one, you see where we're going. We don't want to go there. We agree we're not going to do this. Number two, and don't beat up on yourself when this happens, because that's going to compound it. Just reset. Just bring the conversation back in the conversation, however you want to do it or whatever it is that you're doing, but forgive yourself and then continue on what you were doing. Now, the divine mind is a universal mind. It makes no exceptions. It plays no favorites. It does not act through sheer caprice or from anger, jealousy, or wrath. Neither can it be flattered or moved by sympathy or petition to supply man with some need which he thinks necessary for his happiness or even his existence. The divine mind makes no exceptions to favor any individual. And when the individual understands and realizes his unity with the universal principle, he will appear to be favored because he will have found the source of all health, all wealth, and all power. What Hanel is explaining here is that we are all of us equal. What Hanel is saying here, let's start on a foundational principle that none of us are less than. We are all have equal access to this fundamental principle. This divine mind is going to treat us all the same. We have but to do one thing. One, come into the understanding of the divine principle, and two, apply it, because knowledge does not apply itself. When you come into the understanding that you are part of the divine mind, and it makes no exceptions based on favor of individual, and you understand these principles that we're talking about here in the Master Key System, all you have to do is apply them, and you'll get the same results as you've seen another person get. For your exercise this week, concentrate on the truth. Try to realize that the truth shall make you free. That is, nothing can permanently stand in the way of your perfect success when you learn to apply the scientifically correct thought methods and principles. Realize that you are externalizing in your environment your inherent soul potentialities. Realize that the silence offers an ever-available and almost unlimited opportunity for awakening the highest concepts of truth. Try to comprehend that omnipotence itself is absolute silence. All else is change, activity, and limitation. Silent thought, concentration is therefore the true method of reaching, awakening, and then expressing the wonderful potential power of the world within. So our stress here, Sanel is stressing for the exercise this week. Really go into your silent place and really develop the habit of meditation. That's what I want to leave you with. You know, we're in a time where there's a lot of fear. A lot of folks are putting their attention in places that are really not benefiting them, particularly the news and the different media, social media, these sorts of places. And what happens is, utilizing the law of attraction, which you may or may not be aware of, it doesn't matter, it works either way. If you are fearful and you go onto social media or you go watch the news, you will attract more things to you that will enhance your fear. And the more you do it, the more you will do it. And again and again and again. And it becomes a habit, and it builds into your character, and you will live a life full of worry and anxiety, and then become dependent upon the very thing that you detest, which is feeling fearful, which are the results of watching negative commentary. We're not suggesting that you discount or avoid what's happening in the world today. We all see what's taking place. But take a strategic and comprehensive and even a distant view of it. Not as the small me, but the large I. Make the determination that I'm going to see the optimistic part of the situation, not the pessimistic. And I'm going to look for optimism. I'm going to look for power in this situation. I'm going to look for opportunity. Yeah, a lot of people are getting laid off and unemployment is sky high, but I'm going to look for opportunity, and I'm going to find it. And I'm going to apply these principles in doing so. One of the things that I can tell you for me personally is that I've developed a meditational practice that I am highly dependent upon, because it is the life force each day. Each day I start my day off in the quiet, in the silence. And I have come to realize that that is where the power is, in the silence. You can begin to instruct your day in the silence. So thank you for joining me again this week. I hope this has been helpful. Please continue to do your meditation and your practices. This is going to benefit. We've got about 3 more lectures to go. If you've not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do so. We're going to also provide you with some free links and some downloads there in the description. If you've not signed up with us, go ahead and do that. That way we can send you out what's there in the descriptions there. And continue to follow us on social media platforms. At True Higher Selves, our goal is really, really simple. We want to uplift you. We want to empower you. And we want to provide you with avenues of strength and power. And so hopefully we're doing that. So again, thank you for joining us this week, and we'll see you next time.